welcome to the Tyrant's legendary walkthrough for Halo 5 Guardians. The first mission of the campaign is Osiris, where you meet the Osiris fire team for the first time, and your mission is to capture and bring Dr. Halsey back to safety. Good luck, Spartans.
Spartan Locke. I have spent enough years with Oni to know the truth. Once this is over, after all I have done, they'll order you to kill us both.
Fire Team Osiris. Over the last 72 hours, 5 colonies have experienced identical events. Massive destruction, Forerunner and Origin. And Dr. Catherine Elizabeth Halsey has managed to contact us. She claims to have information on these attacks.
Halsey is currently in Covenant custody on the surface of Kamchatka. Your mission is to insert behind enemy lines, retrieve Halsey, and bring her back to Infinity. Be advised, Dr. Halsey is accompanied by Covenant Supreme Leader Jul 'Mdama. If you have the opportunity...
Understood, Commander.
Good luck, Spartan Locke. Infinity out.
Tracking gear online.
Affirmative. Say, before we make this jump, anybody want to say a few words?
I figure if God can hear how scared I am, so can everyone else. Locke, you buying first drink when we're done?
You ask, you buy. Fire Team Osiris, the light is green.
Check.
Comms working fine, Locke.
Copy that, Tanaka. Spartan Buck online and ready.
Spartan Vale online.
Weapons free. Contact!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Tyrant's legendary walkthrough for Halo 5 Guardians. I know this has been a long time coming. I'll explain myself in a little while. For now, let's get right to it. As you can see, we have a new squad-based system here in Halo 5, which is pretty necessary on Legendary difficulty. Unlike Naked Eli, you won't be seeing me do speed runs or anything along those lines. Those of you who've known me for a while know that I have a crippled right hand and also legally blind in my right eye, so my aim is absolutely terrible. So I like to take my time, especially starting right here. Now you'll see a battle immediately between the Covenant and the Prometheans. It is entirely possible just to run by this immediately, but you'll typically get hit with plasma fire. So I try to take out a couple of the guys and just hang back a little bit until this path right here is clear. As you can see, I can jump right up to this cliff and get barely touched. You just jump over those immediate spawned crawlers, clamber up here, and just run for it. You may take a couple of hits, but for the most part, about 9 times out of 10, you'll get right by there without any trouble at all. So you want to head up to the left right here, where you're going to meet the Promethean soldiers for the first time, and I'll talk about them in just a few minutes. But so grab the suppressor right here. You've got the battle rifle as your primary, suppressor as your secondary, and we're going to take on this soldier right away. Now the suppressor is excellent at just decimating Promethean armor, at least more particularly soldiers. Once you see their light exposed, you can follow up with a headshot from the battle rifle, or pretty much any headshot type weapon. Even the pistol works fine. So I move up and I take out that Promethean soldier on the left first, and then I immediately go over here behind this rock and take out that one on the right. These are the two that you really need to worry about. They're very close to you and can easily do quite a bit of damage. So what I've found here is that, especially since I'm terrible at aiming, which I think I emphasize probably far more than I should, basically my strategy for these missions is to utilize the squad system as strategically as I can. Basically, oh, just knocked out those guys right there. And I'm going to show you this right here. Here's one of the new features from the squad mode. Basically, when you lose your health and shields, there's a new feature that I tend to call down but not out. In other words, you don't really die. Your armor locks up, and your teammates have the opportunity to revive you if you call for them. I think you need to hit the B button, or at least you need to do that when you're using Bumper Jumper in order to do that. And likewise, you can also resurrect your teammates. Well, I should say unlock their armor. It's not really dying at the same time because essentially, whoop, see? I'll check this out. Now you're still talking and everything, so you're still conscious, just your armor locks up, and basically they included this as a feature to sort of prevent cheap deaths from happening more than they should. This does not make the game overpowered, I will say that much right there. Reason I say that is because your teammates can easily die when they're trying to resurrect you or each other. Keep in mind that they're still just AI unless you're playing with friends, so they can be just as clumsy, and believe me, you are going to experience that quite a few times on Legendary difficulty. So let's talk a little bit about the Promethean soldiers. They're sort of I guess a middle class, which is nice because we never really had anything like that in Halo 4. We just had the crawlers, then straight up knights, and then the support watchers. Here, the soldiers are meant to be sort of, you know, an in-between class, sort of like the brutes were originally intended to be, an in-between class between elites and hunters in Halo 2, and it never really worked out that way. And I will say I've got some mixed feelings about the soldiers. They have this infinite teleportation feature that makes them very overpowered, and they can even use binary rifles and light rifles and hit you from a distance. I think I'd be able to tolerate these guys a little bit better if they just used suppressors and bolt shots at closer range and didn't have the ability to teleport all the time. I mean, it's nuts. Hopefully you don't have epilepsy when you're playing this game. So, like I said, I sort of inch up closely here, just bit by bit, because what happens is as you move up, unlike the Covenant, you really can't see these guys coming. They just sort of warp in. And there's going to be several waves of them too. And if you go too fast, you're going to end up having tons of Prometheans spawn in, and they will follow you. So, like I said, I tend to just take these guys out bit by bit. You may see me do a little bit more speedrunning tactics when it comes to, you know, Mythic or Lazo, but especially here on Legendary, I imagine most people just sort of want to fight and don't really want to skip. I've seen the comments in my own videos where people get a little mad when I skip fights. So I'm going to show you here basically how to just take on everything full force. Like I said, you do want to utilize the squad system. They not only resurrect you, but you can tell them where to go, you can tell them what to shoot, you can tell them what weapons to grab, and you can do this on the fly with just a push of a button. So, you know, you don't have to go through the agony of taking a weapon and then having to trade it off like you've done in previous titles. So it is a very useful system, and you will be utilizing it quite a bit. They are, I will say, slightly more useful. Well, if you took away the squad features, they'd be maybe slightly more useful than the AI in previous games. They certainly seem at least a little bit smarter. They do screw up from time to time, but overall they have to be... They seem like they're a little bit more durable and somewhat more intelligent on the battlefield. But definitely, if you're doing this single player, you need to constantly give them direction. So right up here, you have soldiers that are blocking this doorway right here. Initially, I think there's only 2, but more spawn in. So this is why I like to take out the enemies, all of them. That way you don't have to worry about enemies being behind you. One of my main strategies here is to always keep the enemies in front. If you go too quickly, you're going to have enemies behind you at the same time. Your teammates are not always going to be able to keep up. It ends up being kind of a mess. So I take this slowly. So for those of you who complain that I never kill anything, here we go. I think my body count for this mission is pretty high. Now this part really isn't that difficult. You just need to know where things are. There are multiple routes that you can go. So it does get a little confusing. Now, as you noticed, a while back I traded up the battle rifle, keeping it as long as I could because it is a very useful headshot weapon, and eventually traded up to the light rifle. Light rifle works pretty much the same way it did in Halo 4. Unzoomed, it's a 3-shot burst. Zoomed in, it's very powerful. Also shield affecting, 1-shot hit. I was trying to find the right words there. Completely screwed up. So moving forward, this is kind of... I hate it because this part takes forever, it feels like. So again, you want to go ahead and your ideal weapon choice here, your ideal weapon duel is going to be the suppressor and the light rifle. I think my mind is fading out for some reason. So we're going to go ahead and take these caves right here. Things are going to get a little bit complicated up here. You've got Covenant and Prometheans fighting each other. The Covenant won't last long. As you can see, they've got their Kraken behind them. They always seem to have something else in their back pocket. Giggity. But unfortunately, they don't last very long. So once the Covenant are down, the Prometheans will be focusing on you. This could be kind of a tricky area too. Once again, the main strategy I have here is keeping the Prometheans in front. Don't let them flank you, otherwise you're going to be in trouble. You see how powerful these light rifle shots are, especially from a distance like that. So once again, don't be too bummed out if you have to use the re-energize or whatever feature it is, the resurrecting feature. It's going to happen, you know. Unfortunately, the way this game is scaled is it's meant for 4 players. You know this not only from their interviews, but you always have at least 3 other Spartans. Well, I should say at least. You always have 3 other Spartans with you. They're AI controlled, but they're obviously when you have another player or multiple players in the game, those players take the places of the Spartans. So there are always 4 players on the battlefield. Unfortunately, your 3 AI teammates are not as effective, obviously, as actual players, and this gets noticed very quickly because the game is definitely scaled for 4 players. Think like Halo 3 was built for 4 players, but in reality, it was very doable with 1. It was just big enough that 4 players could play on at least most of the missions. Here, it's like Halo 3 triple-fold in terms of difficulty, so you definitely want to take your time, especially with this last part right here. You've got the soldiers that are on the, I'm guessing, incineration cannon turrets in the background. They can deal some pretty heavy damage, not as much as incineration cannons could in Halo 4. It's more like the fuel rod gun in Halo 1 is basically the best way I can compare this. So you definitely want to stay out of their line of fire. There's plenty of cover here. Again, just make sure you're keeping the enemies in front of you. What we're going to do now is sort of work our way up the right-hand side here. There is lots of cover. Our goal is to get up on top of that cliff where those 2 turrets are located. You can actually use the turrets if you want to. You can either man them or you can detach them, just like you could the machine gun or plasma cannon in previous games, and in this one as well. It's a fairly powerful weapon, especially against knights. but it's pretty also dangerous because you also have to worry about if you're carrying it, you're a lot slower, and obviously if you're manning a stationary gun, you have to worry about constantly being in a position where you're just sitting out in the open, and it's very easy. It takes too long to get off the turret, so once you're being shot, typically it's a little late to do anything to prevent yourself from getting killed. So I'm moving up the side with my Spartan buddies. That door right there is our goal. The battle inside is really not that bad. Really, this is as bad as it gets right here. You've got mortar fire coming from the door itself, or the guards at the door, and you've got several soldiers, many with light rifles, some with suppressors. You've got some high-ranking crawlers here too. Typically, what I've noticed in this game is that if the crawlers are white, or if any Promethean is white, it's high-ranking. The exception here is the soldiers. I don't think any of them are white. They just have bigger headgear. So we're going to, well, that was a close one. So we're going to climb up the side here, go to the far right, and this will allow us to come right up next to this turret guy here. He's pretty easy to kill. Just hose him down with the suppressor. I think these are more advanced soldiers up here, higher ranking soldiers, because they do take longer to kill. So you've got these two guys to worry about, and then you've got a couple of soldiers guarding the door just below you. I'm trying to get my team up here, but it looks like they've taken some hits, so I'm just going to sort of take my time and hold back. If you did not take out those other Prometheans earlier, you stand the risk, unfortunately, of Prometheans following you up here and taking you from behind. And no, I did not mean that in the way you were thinking. So again, I'm just going to take this slow. You should have plenty of ammo. It should be noted that there is a binary rifle in the crate right beside me, just to the right. Now, I typically avoid picking up this weapon. It's a great weapon, but again, if you're someone like me who has terrible aim, considering that it doesn't have very many shots to it, I would rather have the light rifle and the suppressor, just because I feel like I wouldn't be able to utilize the binary rifle correctly, and of course my AI teammates wouldn't be that much better. I would much rather have more effective weapons like the light rifle or the suppressor, and save the binary rifle for other situations, because once you're in here it gets a little complicated. So right off the bat you get introduced in this next room to the new Promethean Knights. These are a lot more fair to fight than the ones in Halo 5, or I'm sorry, Halo 4. They have weak points on their wings and their backs. So it's much easier to actually take these guys out. They don't have shields like they did in Halo 4, at least not to the same extent. So I'm going to go ahead and deal with this guy as quickly as you can. I thought his death was scripted, and I think Nick and Eli thought that too. It is not. So what my typical strategy is for this room is sort of just to hold back and deal with the knights first. Their weapons in this case aren't that powerful, but if they get up close and personal with you, it does get pretty nitty-gritty. So once you shoot off the wings, you'll have a clear shot at their face. Sometimes their face mask will open up anyway, and you'll get a clear shot. One headshot, of course, to that orange area right there is going to be enough to take them down. He closed it back up, unfortunately. He closed his stupid face hole. Great. So they're much easier to ultimately fight in this game, and they don't appear as often either. I think that's what the soldiers were primarily there for. So to kind of close this off, just while I'm taking out the knights here, since it's going to be kind of a long process, the Covenant in the room should already be dead. Sort of why I wanted to address why this is taking me so long to do is because I don't know if you've seen my Halo 5 Drunken Review. If you haven't, look it up on my website, MythicTyrant Halo 5 or MythicTyrant Drunken Reviews. I'm not a huge fan of the campaign. It's not that the mechanics aren't fun, it's just the story didn't make any sense to me. Some of the enemies, like the soldiers, are just downright frustrating, and sometimes it's just a little too tilted in enemy favor. The Prometheans are also fairly boring compared to the Covenant. They just sort of appear and come at you wave after wave. They have no personality or anything. See, I just took out those 3 knights right there, and I feel like it really wasn't that big of a deal. You know, you don't hear them really talking or anything. I think the soldiers sort of have their own language. So here's how I'm going to sort of move forward with these guides. I know that you guys have been looking forward to seeing these for a while. I'm going to be posting these not with a certain date in mind or a certain... I mean, I will be posting them in the right order, but in terms of when I post them, I'm going to rate it on how many views I get per guide. If I can get at least 1,000, I'll start working on the next one, and so on and so forth. This isn't me selling out. It's me you know, if I'm going to put the effort into it, then I want to make sure that people are going to want to watch it. So this night right here is going to pretty much wrap things up. Let me, this guy's frustrating. Still not as frustrating as the nights in Halo 4 though. So yes, like I said, if you do like these videos and you want to see more, I highly recommend you like, you comment, you share, and hopefully I'll see you guys on Blue Team the next time. That night's out, so really we can just mop it up with the crawlers here. One more thing to note about the squad system. So your teammates can die, but fortunately they resurrect at the next checkpoint. Even if you haven't been able to, you know, revive them or anything like that, they automatically come back at the next checkpoint, as you can see right there, where all of my teammates were dead a few minutes ago, and now they're all back. So that's also a pretty cool feature, and one you're probably going to be using. Fortunately, I didn't have too much trouble with this mission. I'm just going to stay up the, slowly move around here. I know there's another crawler left. There he is. And that should bring things to a close. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I'm the Tyrant, signing off.
What is the problem?
There are several. Would you like to discuss the finer points of casual reconciliation?
More human sarcasm.
So you have learned something from me,
You
Jude.
claim to be able to access...
And I can. However, I did not claim to be able to access it instantaneously.
No time to dither. You will also accord me the respect befitting of the Didact's hand.
Seems your fingers are an open rebellion, Han.
Enough!
Yeah, good looking.
Do your work.
Eyes on target. This location does not serve my needs. When she makes another transmission, I must
I
triangulate.
tire of this, Doctor! You have been chasing shadows for weeks to no avail! Dr. Halsey, Captain Lasky would like a word with you.
It took you long enough.